Hello, everybody. This is Justin Case from American Newscape, rejoining our friend, comedian, actor, media personality Maurice Brown of Maurice Brown Entertainment, back for another installment of American Awesome. Hello, Maurice. Welcome back to American Newscape.
Hey, hello. It is great to be back. It's been a while, but I am awfully glad to be here. I always enjoy stopping by.
Well, we love having you, Maurice. You know, you probably don't want to feel responsible, but I've patterned some things after you. You know, you're an adept interviewer, which I'm not, but you do a variety of things, and we try and do a variety of things here. And that's one of the reasons I find your channel extremely entertaining and or inspiring. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is I consider your channel on YouTube a safe haven. You know, I can always drive by your channel and be inspired by what you're doing, and it's a very hospitable environment, if that makes any sense.
Well, I appreciate that. I try to make it, of course, I'm a Christian, so I try to make it faith based, but it's not solely faith based. I mean, I talk to a lot of directors and screenwriters and comedians and actors, if you will, in the industry, secular and faith based, and talk a lot. I love talking comedy, but I talk about a lot of different subjects. I do sports shows and things of that nature. So I do try to keep it versatile. I try to stay in different lanes. Um, I also, try, and my wife has really emphasized that to me, which I totally agree. And not try to keep it too black. Like, yeah, you got to talk to the brothers all the time. Now you got to talk to everybody. Everybody does something different. And so I try to keep it as diverse as possible. You'll see all types of backgrounds on my programs.
You know, Maurice, maybe it was my upbringing, but I don't see you as black. I see you as an inspiration, and so are your guests. You know, it's
Yeah.
not, and I really encourage people to get by there and see what Maurice is doing. And when I say he's an inspiration to me, he actually is.
Well, it's interesting you say that you don't see me as black. I did a show with comedian Brad Stein about 10, 12 years ago, and he didn't know I was black. I went to pick him up at the airport. He was like, "My God, you're black!"
No, you're not. Yeah, well, maybe just a little bit, just a little bit.
It was pretty funny. And the guy, he went to the show, and everyone in the audience was black, and he thought he was going to a white show, and he bombed the first minute and a half, and then he changed. He did a pivot. I tell you right now, I've never seen anything like it, and he destroyed the room. I mean, he just killed. And I asked him afterwards. I said, Brad, how in the world did you do that? I'm glad you did Bob, but how did you do that? He said, "Man, I've been doing this for 17 years, Maurice. I've seen it all. I learned quite a lot about comedy myself personally that night. Took note of it."
Well, the other thing, Maurice, I've developed a huge appreciation. It started with Jeannie Robertson, clean comedy. You know, it's one thing to be vulgar up there, but it is an art form for all these clean comics. And thanks to Maurice, I've had a chance to interview some of what I consider the best, and I
Yeah.
always find them entertaining. And during this thing called the pandemic, that was another safe harbor. You know, when I could always stop by, either interview one or watch some clean comedy and feel better about myself. Because one thing Maurice always says is laughter is the best medicine.
Laughter is the best medicine. There's no question about it. I mean, and it's interesting you mentioned COVID, because I had to sit down for 3 years. With all the comedy clubs shut down, and plus my wife said, "You ain't going nowhere." So I said, "Okay, let me see what can I come up with." And I had tried to do this show while I was doing stand up. I did about 25 shows at different clubs that I would perform in, but it just became too much. trying to perform, trying to shoot the video, trying to do the interview at the club, this, that, and the other. I got about 25 shows in. I just, man, I can't do it. I can't do all of this. So maybe I'll revisit it down the road. Then COVID hit not too long after that, and I remembered this, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and it actually created an opportunity for me to perfect it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and it's if it's not spiritually warming, it's certainly heartwarming. I mean, we get a lot when we do this. We get a lot from it.
Yeah, yeah. We do get a lot from it. You learn about so many different people. That's why I love doing interviews because you're actually learning in interviews about people, about life, about experiences, about what do you do if this happens, or how can you be resilient if that happens. You see the life story unfold in front of you while you're interviewing, and it's pretty awesome. And it oftentimes morphs into something outside and beyond what you had planned going in. That is the awesome thing about doing interviews. I just love talking to people and learning about them.
Well, and I don't think people understand. Maurice will probably never shake hands or meet face to face, but I actually appreciate you and I consider you as a friend.
Well, I as well. I consider you as a friend as well. We have. I did my first interview with you a while back, and we've maintained some, fairly consistent contact ever since. And I think we had our interview about a year and a half ago, I want to say, um, and we've just maintained consistent uh, casual contact. You've actually created an open and in for my podcast, and yeah, we've never actually met, but I feel like we're friends.
Well,
Absolutely.
and if I caught you doing stand up, I would walk in and you'd say, "Oh my gosh, who is this gigantic, ugly white guy?" And I would tell
I
you.
I would not recognize you, I'm sure. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that. That's the thing that about stand up that is so awesome is that you go into a room of total strangers, and half of which you wouldn't talk, have a conversation with in front of a Walmart. However, right now, you're going to be my best friend. And to pull that off, Kurt, is an utterly amazing experience, but yet also it stretches you as a human being because you have now bonded with total strangers. I mean, and you've done it if you're doing your job well, you've done it at a high level, and you just learn so many things about yourself. Once you grab that microphone, it's on, my friend, and you got to let it rip, and you got to make people love you. And when you pull that off, Kurt, it is an it's there's no feeling in the world that compares to that. And you can't feel it unless you actually do it.
Well, I remember, I was blessed as a teenager to become a competitive public speaker, which terrified me. Absolutely terrified me, and I'd never been afraid of anything in my life. But
Yeah.
but you're right. Once that switch clicked, and once I recognized that these people were coming to hear what I had to say, and the
Yeah.
ham in me took over,
Yeah.
it became so rewarding. And this was a natural, and I was pushed into this by my wife because she thought, she'd seen me on TV and she thought that I would be good at it, and I did not believe her. And people say, "Why aren't you on camera?" It's because, I don't have a poker face. If you say something I don't agree with, I'm going to roll my eyes, and there's no hiding it. So I don't have to worry about that. I can kick back and focus on you and focus on what you're saying, and
Yeah.
try and present you to our audience, because our audience has heard me in every form or format or on every subject you can imagine. And they don't come to hear what I have to say. They're interested in Maurice, and they're interested in what Maurice and Justin have in common, and they're getting a taste of that. And I hope they get an appreciation of you.
Well, I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate that. And I think it's an interesting way to do an interview too, because I may have seen it one. I don't even know that I've ever seen this particular style of interviewing before, to be totally honest. I may have, but I can't recollect it right now. But it's a different take. It's a different approach, and there's a lot to be said about different. It has the potential to catapult you beyond what everybody else is doing.
Well, and it has, and we've developed. You know, you. I think one thing that we have in common is a sincerity and a truth, and that is our ability to bond. And I will not speak to things I don't agree with. So, we don't have, we have that common ground. If you and I are here talking and you're putting up with me, we must have a common ground and it's going to be fine.
Yes, yes. Well, it's one of those. This is one of those platforms where you get a chance to say pretty much what you want to say, and just kind of like be free. It's something about the platform that allows a certain level of liberty, and I can't quite explain, but if you like talking about your perspective and hearing other people's perspective, there is a natural bond that can develop because we all agree on something. We all have things in life that we can agree about, or at least speak about, even differently. It's just the common experience,
Oh,
and it's awesome.
well, absolutely. And I came from a very young political background, but the Republican senator and the Democratic senator would sit at the same table together sharing drinks
Hmm.
because we were all human beings. I mean, with everybody, they had a passion for trying to help in their own manner.
Yes, yes. Um, and I just think that doing this platform, particularly with comedians. I do a show where we have a Bible study with a number of comedians. I might throw an actor in as a special guest from time to time, and it's wild fun. I mean, people think of a Bible study as a pastor and you falling asleep within the first 5 minutes, which you probably will. But when
Yeah,
you're laughing,
yeah.
there's a different dynamic to it, and it's you won't do a lot of nodding in sleep on my show. I tell you that.
Well, when the actor shows up, does the actor have that sense that they're a pinata for the comedians?
Well, that's the thing. They do. They come in with that idea that they're going to be a pinata, a human pinata, and then they understand that. Well, if I just kind of go with the flow, it'll be okay. There's a couple of jokes that are shot their way here and there, but because they always have a good attitude about it, it kind of gears away from them, and they become a part of the hilarity and conversation. And we found that some actors pretty darn good comedians too.
Well, they have to be. Or at least they can act like they are.
Or at least they can act like they are. Exactly.
All right, Maurice, a couple quick questions for you. I noticed your son is doing stand up, so he followed in your shoes, or does he have a different type of stick? Or
My son is now 24, and he's very funny, and he's got all the natural chops to it. So right now he's kind of taken a hiatus. I think he's just kind of, as he got older, because he started when he was 14.
right,
So once he got to the 18 to 20 year range, maybe 17 to 19, he started to understand that people weren't going to laugh. He wasn't a novelty anymore, long story short. So one
yeah.
thing when you're 14, 13, you get up there and people, oh, look at the young fella, he's pretty funny. Once that passes and people start looking at you as a legitimate comic, like,
Right.
make me laugh, the cute part of it's gone. And so now he started and he's very funny, but dealing with the different, I guess, um, I don't know, the way the perception. He realized he had to work a lot harder than he had been before, and he was always, and I think it was kind of overwhelming for him. He didn't understand the aspect of different. demographics and this and that, and when you're looked upon as a guy that, hey, look, you got to make me laugh, dude, or I ain't giving you nothing, or I'm gonna give you the side eye if I don't like it, because that looking at you as a cute little kid anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that kind of affected him a little bit. And so he's not as zealous about it as he used to be. So right now he's taking a hiatus. He's not going to stop, but right now he's just kind of in a different headspace regarding comedy.
Well, he's probably trying to bolster his roll with the punches skill. I would think you stand-ups have to, you have to have a masochistic gene a little bit, because some days are just not going to be diamonds, right?
No, they're not, and it's just one of those as part of the territory. If you have if you're not someone that can develop a coarse exterior, you can't do it. And the reason you can do it is because your love for it overrides that. It's like, oh man, doggone it, I bombed. Well, I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not there's just no question about that. And that's when you realize, yeah, this is definitely for me. I really want this. And then all of a sudden you realize those bad experiences kind of diminish. There are not as many bombings, and they start getting minuscule, because you kind of learn how to go with the flow. And oh, that joke didn't work, okay, whatever, I'll get him with the next one. And all of a sudden you get the crowd back, you're kind of back on your horse riding again. You just it's something that you just learn to deal with through a lot of failures. And those that have a weak stomach for that, they don't stay in the game. It's all about how much do you really love doing this. I don't know if I told this story on the last show or not. It stop me if I have, but I did a show with my family at this event where I was the headliner, and it was in a Christian setting, because I do comedy in clubs too. I don't cuss, but my subject matter might be more cutting edge in a club, right?
Right.
So I bounced the jokes off my family on the way to the show, and my oldest son said, "Dad, I wouldn't tell that joke." I said, interesting. So I get to the event, and I'm in backstage fighting with myself about not telling a joke. Anyway, I get out there, I'm killing. I'm telling these preacher jokes. I mean, cameras are popping. I'm people taking, photographs of me. I'm killing. And I go, I'm going to tell this joke. If they don't like it, they'll forgive me. They love me.
I'm sorry.
And I got him, you know what I mean? I got him in the palm of my hand.
Right.
And I let it rip, and it just fell right off the table. I mean, they did one of these numbers. They gave me that look for the next 20 minutes.
They
It didn't
wouldn't.
matter what I said. It was over. And so I bobbed right there for my wife and my kids, and I felt bad for them that I put them in that situation. But
Well,
for me, I didn't feel like it affected my life as a comedian in any way. I just went, I shouldn't have said that. I'll be back tomorrow.
right. Right. Well, but you had to face your son, who had warned you what was going to happen, and he happened to be correct.
He was 100% spot on correct. But we're hard headed as comedians. We can't help ourselves. We just can't. It's just something about it. We love to push the envelope. I
Well,
can't explain it. I mean, you said we have this masochistic type of gene that most others don't, in a way,
yeah.
and that's kind of how we're built. I looked at myself, yeah, you were right. I messed up. And then, you just move on.
Well, and you probably don't have this problem, Maurice, but I love to hear myself talk.
I as well. Oh, by the way. But the thing is too, it's like you learn things when you go through those bad experiences. It's like, just understand you're always in a classroom when you're doing comedy, and you take note of everything that happens, good or bad, and put it in your toolbox and you move forward. Um, and I just think that that's something that, and then loving to hear yourself talk is a great motivating factor when you're on stage. Like you grab a microphone, you realize you're in total command of the room,
Right.
and you're in total command. I mean, especially if you sound good, which I have a radio voice, and I like hearing my voice.
Well, you have a
I
good
mean,
voice.
if you give me a good microphone, it sounds really sweet. Just a gift but from God, and it just takes me to another headspace. Like, man, I'm enjoying this. But anyway, it's not an easy craft. It's something you gotta love doing, and I do. That 3 years that COVID stopped everyone was a bummer, and this was my only outlet.
Well, where what else did you find therapeutic, Maurice? Family, friends?
Well, actually, it you speak of family. That was the number one thing that I needed to do was spend more time with my family. Chasing comedy all the time and writing and so forth and doing shows was consuming me really. And my wife said, I love the fact that you're home more. I love that you are just here all the time. And it was a big thing, being around my wife and kids and just doing things together more so than we had in the past was a big deal. It was therapy. I actually really realized that during the 3 years, like, man, I needed to stop.
Yeah.
I needed to slow this thing down. I didn't. It's amazing once you get outside of a process how much you, more clarity you see it with. And I saw it crystal clear. It's like, yeah, I needed to stop for a while.
Well, and we were, I think a lot of us were consumed with concern for others. I mean, concerned about our friends, checking with extended family, making
Yeah,
sure everybody was okay, not only health wise, but emotionally during this ordeal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole thing. There's way more good, believe it or not, from this than bad. There was a lot of good that resulted from this experience that we all, loathed. But there was a lot of good things that occurred during the time frame that a lot of people needed to focus on that they weren't focusing on before. To your point, family and friends and people that you don't normally even speak with or check on, or all those type of things. Just a lot of little things that can become big things if you don't address them.
No, I agree, and I think it was, we knew who our character actually rose to the top, and you either had character through this or you did not, and maybe that's why you're a blessing, Maurice. I hate to call you a blessing, but you are indeed. I found you a safe. I'll say it again. I found you a safe harbor, and I think all of us from time to time need that, even if it's for a few minutes. Even if it's music, even if it's scripture, even whatever that is that helps take you to a better place. Let's count those blessings.
Yes, yes. Let's count the blessings because there are a lot of times that we don't appreciate blessings in our lives. We got to count them. And take note of the fact. We don't want to take things for granted. In other words.
Well, and I think as we get longer in the tooth, we recognize that.
We do. I mean, I've got a birthday coming up in a couple of days. I'll be 59, and I'm like, man, oh man, I'm looking around at my life and all the things that have happened. All my kids are in their 20s, and I'm helping them get solid jobs so they can go on and have their lives. And my wife and I can, really start focusing on some things that we want to focus on. But you just learn a lot of things when you get older. And for men, we get calmer the older we get.
Yes, we do.
We tend to have a lot more patience. I mean, the kid can, throw a rock through my window, a bunch of 10-year olds out there playing stickball, and throw a a rock will come fly or a ball will come flying through the window, and I'm like, "Hey guys, this your ball? You want to go get some ice cream?" So anyway, yeah, we're just a lot more calmer when we get older for some reason. So yes, the benefits of getting longer in the tooth, just calm.
Well, and everybody should celebrate that, particularly about us.
Yeah, I I think this is the golden period of for men in particular. Of having grandkids and enjoying them and all of those different things. I think women tend to get a little bit edgier the older they get.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because they've
it's
put up with us.
well, well, yeah, they don't understand why we're not, upset about a lot of things. Why aren't you angry, Doug? On it? Maybe they take that part umbrage to the fact that we're just don't take very much very seriously. But it's a blessing. The calm aspect is the wisdom and and getting longer in the tooth brings that wisdom and the ability to understand that it doesn't take all of that. We've been there, we've done that. We know it doesn't take all of that. We know it's not effective, and we know it's not really worth all of that energy and stress and anger. It's not worth it. Once you've gone down the road of peace, you start to understand.
Well, stress does kill. Maurice, I'd love to talk to you all day because I do cherish these moments, but why don't you leave us with some final words and some inspiration and tell us where we can find you? We'll put all that in the read more, but why don't you invite people to your channels and to learn more about Maurice Brown?
Well, and to your point about just being more, garnering more wisdom the older you get. You take the word disease and you split it down the middle, and the prefix is DIS, which means no. And of course, the word EASE means what it means, easy peasy. And so that's all disease is. That's what sickness and illness is. No peace, no calmness in your life. The waters are turbulent. That's what's making you ill. We all got to, decompress and understand it's not that serious out here. Yes, life is serious. But if you believe, and people out there probably say, I have a higher power or what have you. Okay, well, then trust that. I trust God. He's got everything under control. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. But he knows what he's doing, and I trust him for all the things that I don't know or understand. Trust in the Father. He knows. Let him handle what you can't handle, which is probably quite a lot.
Right.
And he will fill in those holes if you let him do it. I've seen him do it in my life time and time again. And it'll calm you down when you know that he's always there with you. You can follow Maurice Brown on the Maurice Brown Comedy channel on YouTube. On Instagram, you can follow me at Maurice Brown Comedy Hour. Also, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a website which talks about all of the comedy shows that I produce at mbecomedy.com. We were talking about the pandemic that stopped everything that I was doing, but I'm putting now presently a 25 city comedy tour with 20 comedians, which will begin next summer, the summer of 2024. And so follow my website, as probably within the next 30 days or so, you're going to start seeing more and more information. We're going to try to do 2 or 3 big shows as the end of 2023 will be approaching us very soon. We'll try to get a couple of shows in preparation for next year's 25 city tour that we're putting together. So be on the lookout.
All right. Hey, we're all excited about that, Maurice. Hey, this has been Justin Case and Maurice Brown bringing you American Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links provided in this video read more. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel. Please learn more about Maurice Brown. and keep company with all of us at the Cool Kids table.